Chicago, 1950 versus 2025. Close your eyes for a second and hear it. Old engines, rushed footsteps in the loop, the L rattling overhead, and Lake Michigan's wind cutting through the avenue. In 1950, Chicago was smoke, steel, and work, a city built on factory shifts, newspapers, and storefront lights. Now look again: glass, glow, technology, tourism, and the same urban heart beating in a new rhythm. Today we'll travel through 10 real locations and see side by side how each street and skyline transformed. Because in Chicago, time doesn't just pass, it rebuilds. When Chicago dreamed of a grand gateway to Lake Michigan, it built the Municipal Pier, constructed from 1913 to 1916, inspired by Daniel Burnham's city plan, with design led by architect Charles Sumner Frost. Stretching 3,300 feet, it was meant to be both a working dock and a public space: ships, exhibitions, events, and leisure. In 1927, it was renamed Navy Pier. During World War II, it became a training center. Later, from 1946 to 1965, it housed a University of Illinois campus. After years of decline, it was reimagined and reopened on July 12, 1995, as a cultural and entertainment destination. Today, it's a 50-plus acre complex with parks, theaters, and attractions, including the Centennial Wheel, 2016. Chicago's Riverwalk wasn't always a place to linger. For decades, the river edge downtown was mostly concrete and service space. During the Wacker Drive reconstruction, Chicago began carving out a true river-level promenade, turning infrastructure into public waterfront. Plans expanded in 2012, and new rooms opened in 2015: Marina Plaza, The Cove, and the River Theater. The final sections opened in 2016, completing a continuous path of terraces, cafes, greenery, and boat access in the heart of the loop. Today, skyline reflections, kayaks, and evening lights make it one of Chicago's best walks. State Street, in the heart of the loop, was once nicknamed That Great Street for being Chicago's flagship shopping corridor. After W Food, it was packed with department stores, bright marquees, and non-stop foot traffic. In 1979, the city tried a bold reset: a pedestrian mall that removed cars to favor walkers. The crowds didn't return as hoped. In 1996, State Street reopened to traffic and was redesigned to bring back energy. Today, it blends retail, theaters, history, and tourism. Wacker Drive is Chicago's two-level riverfront artery, upper for through traffic, lower for deliveries and local access, built to untangle congestion along the Chicago River. Opened in 1926 and named for civic leader Charles H. Wacker, it followed Burnham-era ideas: tuck service streets below and give the city a grand boulevard above. Major rebuilds in the 2000s and 2010s replaced aging concrete, upgraded utilities, lighting, and safety, and strengthened links to the Loop and Lake Shore Drive. The lower deck feels like a city beneath the city. The upper deck frames river and skyline in one sweep. Chicago's museum campus began as 3 lakefront landmarks: the Field Museum, opened May 2, 1921, Shedd Aquarium, May 30, 1930, and Adler Planetarium, May 12, 1930. For decades, they were divided by traffic. In 1998, construction rerouted Lakeshore Drive west of the museums, stitching the shoreline into one walkable campus of lawns, paths, and skyline views. Today, it's connected parkland, museums, gardens, and lakefront trails, with room for bikes, picnics, concerts, and that postcard view of downtown over the water. All within minutes' walk. Dinosaurs, dolphins, and stars. One lakeside walk. The land where Millennium Park sits wasn't always a postcard. For much of the 20th century, this section of Grant Park's edge was dominated by rail yards and surface parking above the Illinois Central tracks. Functional space, not a destination. In the late 1990s, Chicago began building a new kind of downtown park on that footprint. It opened in 2004 as a modern civic stage: gardens, plazas, public art, and outdoor music. Today, it's one of the city's signature public spaces, turning a once industrial gap into a cultural front yard. Soldier Field opened in 1924 as a memorial stadium on Chicago's lakefront, built to honor U.S. soldiers. For decades, it kept its classical colonnades while hosting football, rallies, and major events. In the early 2000s, Chicago launched a dramatic modernization. The interior bowl was rebuilt and expanded, while the historic columns were preserved. The result is a striking blend of old and new. Stone monument outside, contemporary stadium inside. Still anchored on the museum campus edge, facing Lake Michigan and the skyline. Wrigley Field opened in 1914 and quickly became a Chicago icon. Ivy-covered walls, hand-set scoreboard, and a neighborhood built around game day. By the mid-20th century, Wrigleyville was already a dense grid of apartments, corner bars, and fans pouring in from the L. In the 2010s, a major renovation modernized the stadium. New boards, concourses, and structural upgrades, while keeping its historic character. Today, the park still feels timeless, but the blocks around it have evolved into a lively entertainment district. O'Hare began as Orchard Place Airport, then was expanded and renamed after W2. Commercial flights started in 1955, and the airport quickly grew into a national aviation hub. As jets reshaped travel, O'Hare added new terminals, longer runways, and massive airside systems to handle rising demand. Over decades, it evolved from a mid-century airfield into a global gateway, linking Chicago to hundreds of destinations, moving tens of millions of passengers, and operating like a city of its own. Today, constant upgrades keep it running 24/7 at world scale. Fulton Market in Chicago's West Loop began as a gritty wholesale district, cold storage buildings, loading docks, and the meatpacking trade feeding the city. For much of the 20th century, it was all early mornings, trucks, and warehouse grit. In the late 1990s and 2000s, old brick buildings started converting into restaurants, studios, and offices. Then a tech wave accelerated the shift, turning the area into one of Chicago's hottest neighborhoods. Today, it's a mix of preserved industrial bones and new glass towers, food halls, boutique hotels, and nightlife built on the footprint of Chicago's working market. The Magnificent Mile, North Michigan Avenue, was already Chicago's showpiece in the 1950s. Department stores, marquee lights, and crowds moving between the river and the water tower. Over decades, it grew into a global luxury corridor lined with landmark towers, hotels, and cultural stops. By the 2010s-2025 era, the street's identity shifted again. Online shopping, changing tourism, and new work habits pushed retailers out and forced reinvention. Today, the mile is retenanting and redeveloping. More mixed use, more experiences, and a new fight to keep the boulevard's sparkle alive. Right here now, Chicago Union Station opened in 1925 as the city's grand rail gateway, built to move crowds through a cathedral-like space. Its Great Hall, marble, arches, and a soaring skylight, became a symbol of Chicago arrivals and departures. After decades of wear, the station began a major revival. The Great Hall restoration, completed in 2019, brought back original colors, brighter light, and renewed details. Today, it still serves commuters and Amtrak, but also hosts events and film scenes. Proof that a 1920s landmark can feel alive in a modern city. Chicago's Water Tower, built in 1869, survived the Great Chicago Fire and became a rare symbol of the city's endurance. By the 1950s, it stood at the center of a booming Michigan Avenue corridor, surrounded by rising traffic and retail growth. Next door, the plaza space evolved with the street, eventually rebuilt and renamed Jane M. Byrne Plaza, adding seating, greenery, and flexible public space. Today, the Water Tower also serves as a public gallery, while the plaza acts as a small urban stage on the Magnificent Mile. Lincoln Park Zoo is one of America's oldest zoos, founded in 1868, and it's been free to the public for generations. By the 1950s, it was a beloved city attraction, but animal habitats then looked very different, more concrete, less natural space. Over recent decades, the zoo has steadily modernized, redesigned exhibits, improved animal welfare, conservation programs, and better visitor paths while staying right in the middle of the city. Today, you can walk from downtown to a world-class free zoo, where education and conservation are as central as the animals themselves.